Hey, Pastor David here on day one of the stay at home for 14 days. So here we are, and I'm just praying that this is going to be a great time for us. Hey, don't forget to pray for our world. You see the map behind me. Don't forget to pray for our healthcare workers that are out there on the front lines, doctors, researchers, trying to figure this thing out. And I just think pray overall for our general welfare of not only of this country, but the world, because this has been an incredible time. And I want to thank you for joining and just being a part. This is one way we can be connected. And I just wanted to come and walk with you through these 14 days, because the end of the 14 days then is Good Friday. And I think that has special significance for all of us, as you know. And so what my thought is that I'll bring you one of these thoughts, devotions, whatever you want to call it, each day of the 14 days, except for Sundays. Now, this weekend, I want to encourage you to make sure you stream at 10 o'clock. I got a little surprise for you, and so you don't want to miss, and I think you're going to really enjoy it. I believe that. So at 10 o'clock, and then, of course, the rest of the days, I will be doing this, and we'll be looking at a scripture and trying to draw some truth from that scripture. So thank you so much for being a part. You can also join in on Wednesday nights, a podcast called This Week at First Orlando. And Angie Elkins is doing that, and she's doing a phenomenal job. We've already had one. Got another one Wednesday night. I'll be your guest at 7 o'clock. It's a live stream, so I hope that you can join us for that. We're doing everything we can just to stay connected so we can feel like we're still in community as best we can. I want to take you to the scripture. I want to go to the Gospel of Mark. Mark chapter 6, verse 45 and following. There's a moment that happens here. Let me tell you where they are. They're on the Sea of Galilee. He's just fed 5,000 with 5 loaves and 2 fishes. And so it's been an amazing miracle. Remember, 5,000 people fed. So all of that's happened. And now he's encouraging the disciples, get in the boat and go across the sea, and he goes up on the mountain to pray. And watch this. This is what happens. Immediately he made his disciples to get into the boat and to go before him to the other side, to beside him, while he dismissed the crowd. And after he had taken leave of them, he went up on the mountain to pray. And when the evening came, the boat was out on the sea, and he was alone on the land. And he saw that they were making headway painfully, for the wind was against them. And about the 4th watch of the night, that would be from 3 a.m. to 6 a.m, he came to them walking on the sea. He meant to pass by them. Now I'm going to come back to that in just a second. But when they saw him walking on the sea, they thought it was a ghost. And they cried out. For they all saw him and they were terrified. But immediately he spoke to them and said, "Take heart. It is I. Do not be afraid." And he got into the boat with them, and the wind ceased, and they were utterly astounded. For they did not understand about the loaves, but their hearts were hardened. Now let me tell you why I just chose this. This is one of the final miracles that happens on the Sea of Galilee. He's about to turn his direction to Jerusalem and to begin to make his way from the north down to Jerusalem. But this moment was to me and is to me an incredible moment that reminds me of what's happening now. So Jesus sends them out in the boat. He goes up on the mountain to pray. Let me tell you what I think Jesus is doing right now. He's praying for you. He's praying for me. I believe he went up on that mountain, and a part of his prayer was for them. You know, there are places in Scripture that talk about Jesus praying for us. There's John 17 where he prays that we might be one. There's Hebrews that says he makes intercession at the right hand of the Father. There's just so many places where we believe Jesus is praying for us. And so I believe he is in this season. And then he saw them as they struggled. He understood. They were making headway, but it was painful. There's a verb that's used here that actually is a verb for torture. I mean, they're headed in the wind and they can't overcome the wind. And so Jesus saw that. Can I just tell you, I believe he sees everything you're going through. I think he sees the fear. I think he sees the uncertainty. I think he just sees the pain of our life and the situations that are going on around us. And then what does he do? He comes to them. Literally, he comes to them and he's walking on the water, and it says that he meant to pass by them. Now let me explain something. Jesus is standing on the water. He is walking on the very thing they were afraid of. You follow that? Think about that. He's standing on the very thing that they are afraid of. The scripture says one day his enemies will be his footstool. The things that bring us greatest fear are under his feet. You can put it this way, the things that are over our head are under his feet. He's standing on the sea. And the scripture says he meant to pass by them. Now, let me explain that. That's language of a theophany. In fact, that language, you'll find it in the Old Testament. In the Greek translation of the Old Testament, it's the same phrase. In Exodus, his glory passed by them, and his glory covered them. So when it says he meant to pass by them, that's not saying, I don't want to see you or I don't want to be with you. No, that's actually saying, I'm with you. I got you. I'll cover you. So a theophany is when God would reveal himself and make himself known. And that's exactly what he was doing. He said, I got you. And then he got in the boat and they were amazed. They were astounded. You know, there are things about Jesus you never learn until you go through a storm with him. And this is a storm. What we're going through, never been through. This is a storm. I pray we will learn things we have never known about him. It says that their hearts were hardened because they did not understand the loaves. Now, what was that about? What does that verse mean? They did not understand about the loaves. When he fed 5,000 with those loaves and fishes, remember how much was left over? 12 basketfuls. 12 basketfuls left over. The lesson, the principle of the loaves is that Jesus is more than enough. He's more than enough. In that moment of need on the sea, he was more than enough for them. In our moment of COVID-19, he's more than enough. Because look what he said to him. Take heart. That means be encouraged. And then he said, it is I. That's just simply the name I am. The covenant name of God. I am. You know what that name is? It's literally a verb. It means I am whatever you need. I am whatever you need in this moment. And then he said, don't be afraid. So I think the lesson of that night was that he's got us. And he's more than enough. Be encouraged. Don't be afraid. The great I am is with us.